I don't even know what this is. Like, at one point I was even wondering if I took the right exam, because I was like, how am I supposed to know that? Hey guys, it's Noreen, and thank you for making it to my channel, All Things Noreen, where I talk about my lifestyle and nursing. And today I'm gonna catch you guys up on what's been going on. Thank you guys for all the congratulations for my psychiatric mental health nurse practitioner certification. So I believe last time we were here, I was talking about my psychotherapy course, and it did get better. After psychotherapy, was 6665 and 6675, which is basically kind of like the first rotation that we had in clinicals. And literally when I got into 6665, it felt like a breath of fresh air. Like, it felt so good to be back with a nurse practitioner, because you know, for 6645 psychotherapy, you're with a social worker, caseworker, therapist type of thing. And so, and there wasn't like really medication management, it was just therapy. And you know, at Psych NP we do provide brief therapy. So going back to a nurse practitioner felt refreshing. It felt wonderful. It was literally like, oh, I'm where I need to be, where I belong, because I got back to seeing the medications, got familiar with all that stuff again, got familiar with the flow, the patient flow, working with the nurse practitioner. And it's like, we are in nurse practitioner school, so this is what we're going to be doing. So I really enjoyed my 6665 rotation as well as the 6675 rotation. Luckily for me, I had the same preceptor for both 6665, 6675. I do think it made the experience better since I had the same preceptor, so I was more comfortable, because at this part of the program you're kind of, you know, doing things more like with your patient and things like that. And so just kind of already knowing how your preceptor works makes that you know, process easier. So if you could do the same preceptor for 6665, 6675, I would definitely recommend that. So 6665, 6675, you know, you have your comprehensive psych eval, during your discussions, all that good stuff. You have your midterm final. And so for 6675, it gets a little bit tricky. That's where they have those grand rounds. And so, you know, where you're typically with the comprehensive psych eval, you are giving it to your preceptor, they're signing off on it, you're submitting it to your teacher. But for 6675, it's a little bit different. Your teacher is telling your preceptor when you are presenting. So you're not submitting your assignment to your teacher, you're submitting it as a discussion for your other classmates to see. And then you also have to come up with 3 questions for your classmates to answer. And I didn't know, this kind of caught me off guard, but luckily I was able to figure it out and do everything in time, because I thought it was going to be the same process as 6665, where, you know, we just, our preceptor signed and then we submit it. But like, you have a specific date, you need to have your presentation on point, and now your classmates are looking at this and you have to come up with questions for them. And so the thing with that too is that while it's not just you presenting, so you're presenting and like 2 or 3 other classmates are presenting, and you still have to answer their questions during that time. That week you have like a few days to answer their questions, and you have to respond to them twice. So you have to answer 2 questions per presenter or whatever. So make sure you guys like stay like good with that, because like I said, that one caught me off guard, but I was able to understand how to do it, because it was a little confusing. So yeah, just make sure you're prepared for that. But as far as the midterm and the final, everything was fine. My professors were good. I didn't have any issues. So that was pretty much for 6665, 6665 and 6675. The thing I would say with clinical is to try to be as hands-on as possible. Like, try to be involved as possible. Do not try to be like laid back during your clinicals. You definitely want to try to be involved, because when I tell you, when I sat for boards, a lot of that stuff is like stuff that I learned from my preceptor, or you learn from it, like you learn it in class, right? But then it like really sticks when you're in clinical. So that's why I feel like it's very important to be as involved in clinical as possible. Ask your preceptor questions. It's very, very important, because I'm telling you, I cannot stress to you how many times during that exam I was like, oh, I remember this from clinical. Oh, I remember my preceptor said this. So definitely try to like ask questions and be involved, because it's gonna help like stick to in your head. So that's definitely one thing I do want to say about clinicals. So I remember taking my last final exam. I actually graduated in May. I took the last final exam. It was such a breath of fresh air. I was so happy. One thing I will say is I regret not getting ready to study for my board sooner. I, like most people, you know, you take your last exam, you're like, oh, I'm gonna take a break or whatever, rest. And so the thing is, I took it in May and I actually was moving in June, so I had a lot going on. And then even when I moved in June, it was like at the end of June, I got sick, so I was really out of commission for a little bit. But if I can go back and do it, I would start studying right away. I would not wait, because the other thing too is like a lot of us were comfortable. We're like, oh, I don't need to like take the test and all this stuff. And then you wait until like you really want to take the test and stuff. Like, okay, basically for me was like, I was like ready to take the test, but I didn't know how long the process is. So I feel like when you do that and it's like you're like eager to hurry up, take the test and start working, there's just so many bumps in the road that it doesn't happen that fast. So I feel like if I did it when I wasn't eager to start working, it would have been better, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? So I would definitely say to start the process as soon as possible. And it is such a long process. Like, there's just so many hoops that you have to jump through that just doesn't make any sense. So I would definitely say if you can start the process sooner, just do it. Even if you're not pressed to start working, just get the ball rolling, because it is such a process. And then also too, I do have a free checklist of a new grad survival checklist of things to let you know what needs to be done. So definitely check that down below. And so I took my final exam, and then also after your final exam too, Walden, okay, you have to confer your degree. So that was the other thing. I didn't know. I just thought my degree was gonna come in the mail. I didn't go to graduation. I really didn't care to. I do kind of feel bad though, because I know my mom really wanted me to, because my mom graduated from Walden with her nursing degree, or with a master's in nursing. So I know she really wanted me to, but I'm just very introverted. I just did not really care to go to graduation. But anyways, so I thought they were gonna mail me my degree. No, they do not mail you your degree. Like, so after you finish your classes, you have to go into your Walden portal and you basically have to confer your degree. Tell them that you want your degree, and then it's gonna like basically go through all your grades and all this stuff, and then that's how you confer your degree. Once you confer your degree, once you confer your degree, then they're gonna send it to you. It's like such a process. It's crazy. They're gonna send it to you in the mail. You fill it out. Well, you fill out the name that you want to put on there. I didn't put my middle name on there, but I wish I did. So you fill out the thing, and then they're gonna mail it to you. It takes a few weeks to come in the mail. So make sure you do that. So you want to do that as soon as possible too, because I waited to confirm my degree, of course. And then when I was trying to do the ANCC stuff, like it was like I had to go back, do the conferred degree thing, then go do the ANCC process. So definitely as soon as your grades post for your last class, your final semester, you definitely want to go ahead and confer your degree, because that's going to also help get the ball rolling. Now, when it comes to the ANCC, so I'm just going to kind of go over this briefly. I will do a more detailed video about this later, but I just kind of want to go through it briefly. So as far as Walden goes, for the ANCC, you have to send them your transcript. So Walden uses a parchment thing. So you go into your Walden portal, you request your transcript through the parchment thing. They're going to send it to the ANCC. Now, Walden also, now you have to go on your MediTrack, and then those the field of experience people, they have to send your verification of education to the ANCC. Now that took 2 weeks, okay? And I did this in the middle of November, so I don't think it was, because I think the semester ends, I don't know when the semester ends, but I don't think it was a peak season or whatever. And no, I did this October, so yeah. So that takes 2 weeks, okay? So you see what I'm saying with this whole process situation? So you go ahead and apply for your ANCC. That's for your certification to take your test. That is $400, and that's if you're not a member. If you are a member, it's a little bit cheaper, maybe $100. I'm not sure, but I'm not a member. So I paid $400, and I had to go to Walden, have them send that stuff over. They took 2 weeks to send that over, and they tell you, you know how the field of experience is, okay? They tell you gotta wait, blah, 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 to process. So that's the verification of education, that your transcript, And I think that was pretty much it from the ANCC. And then even when the ANCC gets that stuff, it takes a few days for them to go through it. And so once they see it, once you get that everything approved and you're like legit, then you can sit and take your test. And so I know there's like there's 2 different tests that you can take. You can get a certified or board certified. The ANCC is board certified. That's the exam that I took, and that is what's recognized by most employers. So that's what I did. I know some people take the other tests just because. I would not do that because I'm not paying for 2 tests. I don't want to take 2 tests. Like, that's crazy. So anyways, so yeah, I went through that whole process in October, and then I don't know, I would say about like 2-3 weeks, and I finally got approved to test. And then I scheduled my test in November. So when I first scheduled my test, I originally wanted to take the test on a Saturday, but they didn't have any Saturday availability. So I was like, is this even a thing? Do they even do tests on Saturday? So that happened. And then I actually got sick. So I scheduled my test, but then I got sick. So it like messed me up for a weekend. I couldn't study. So then I rescheduled my exam. You have to pay like $30 to schedule your exam, and I think the closer you get, it goes higher. So I paid $30 to schedule because I was like, I'm not gonna risk taking this exam and not passing because I don't want to pay $400 again. So I'll pay the $30, and then so that happened. And then one random day, I was just checking on the website, and I forgot, is it Pearson or something like that? So you can check on the website, and then I saw a Saturday open up, but it was like a farther location. So then I had to like think about it. I was like, I really want to take this Saturday exam, and I wanted to do it before Thanksgiving because I didn't want to have to worry about that after the holidays. So I basically so I wanted to book that Saturday exam. I tried to book it, and then it was actually gone. It was like gone. I was like, what? I felt so sick to my stomach because I was like, no, I want this, right? And so basically I just kept refreshing for like an hour, and then finally opened back up, and I booked that Saturday exam at 12 o'clock or something like that. So I booked that exam. I give myself probably about like a month to study, maybe some change to study. I mean, it's definitely doable, but you like really have to lock in. I'm talking like lock in. Like, I was not posting on social media at all. I wasn't even listening to music in the gym. I was like listening to YouTube videos. Like, I was locked in, okay? So so I ended up booking for the Saturday, and at that time when I rescheduled, I paid $45, and I was just like, I don't know if it was because the exam was a little bit closer out, or if it was because it was a Saturday, I don't know. But that's what I did. I booked for that Saturday. And so yeah, then it was like grind time. And so what I used to study was, I did use Georgette's study program. I did the modules, and then I also did the QBank. And I mean, it worked, right? Obviously I passed my exam on the first try, but I feel like there's just really no exact way to get the exact questions from the, like, I feel like there's no exact way to get the same exact questions that's going to be on the test, because basically what I learned was that when you're doing those practice exam questions, you're learning the material. Like, you definitely read the rationales, you're learning the material, but what's most important is that you learn the material, because the exam is going to ask you questions in a different way. It's not going to be the same way, it's going to be like a different way, but just kind of know how to approach these type of questions is kind of what works. And I mean, I know some people say some questions are verbatim. I mean, there were a few that was verbatim, like the neurotransmitters involved in addiction type of thing, okay? Like, some of those are there. And I know they say Dr. Tails Lopez, some of his questions are verbatim. So for Dr. Tails Lopez, I definitely would recommend, he has some YouTube videos, like 50 questions you must know. I would definitely say look at those questions when you're studying for your exam, just to help, reinforce the material. But I did do the modules. I did do the questions. I did the questions over and over until I got 90%. I wrote down the rationales, like handwritten the rationales. I just really wanted to make sure I understand the material. And yeah, that's what I did. That was Georgette's thing. And So I did the questions, wrote down the rationales, really reinforced the rationales. That's really like the best I could tell you to do. Her LMR was definitely helpful. Definitely recommend. So yes, that's how I passed the exam. So then test day comes. So this place, you can go ahead use the bathroom, but your clock isn't gonna stop. They also give you a marker board and a marker to write down stuff. I did not use my board at all. It was not necessary. I also did not get up and go to the bathroom. I didn't want to waste no time. Like, it was just too risky. And when I say that test was so hard, like, I was literally praying through that exam, like, God, please let me pass, because I cannot afford to take this test again. Like, the mental capacity, absolutely not. Like, no. So I did take about probably like 2.5 hours. You can go back. You can also flag. So you take the test. If there's a question you're not sure about, you can flag it and go back to it at the end. So that's what I did. I would not recommend spending too much time on a question, because there's also 25 experimental questions on there, and most of the times when it was like a tough question, I was like, I know this has to be one of those experimental questions, because I don't even know what this is. Like, at one point I was even wondering if I took the right exam, because I was like, how am I supposed to know that? Like, what is this, right? And so on my exam, I did get like a lot of the Erickson, the theory, the Piaget theory, you know, the industry versus inferiority, all that stuff, that's on there. The oral stages, so a lot of psychotherapy was on there, a lot of bipolar, schizo, like, you know, mixing up the symptoms, trying to identify that. Dang, I wish I did this a little bit sooner, like closer to when I took the test, so I could kind of regurgitate the stuff. A lot of cultural stuff is on there. I'm actually going to do another video. Like, I'll do a separate video. I'll look in my notes and kind of say, this was on the test, this is what I remember. But just know that your meds is on there. The meds is really, really important. I'm gonna see, maybe I can do like a cheat sheet for you guys. I don't know, don't bank on it, but I will try. Because that was like another thing too, just understanding the medication classes. And honestly, if you can start doing this earlier, I think that would be very helpful. If you can start studying your medication classes in advance, I definitely think that will help you for the exam, because it's a lot. Like, knowing lithium, bipolar, knowing clozaril, you make sure you know about the granulocytosis, your ANCC, pregnancy tests. Like, yeah, I'll definitely do a more in-depth video on what was on my exam and what you need to know. Definitely like TSH, thyroid levels, that's super important. Yeah, so that was it. And so after I took my exam, so like I said, I took it like 2.5 hours. You get your results, like, by the time I checked out and went to my car, I had the results, and I was so happy when I got the green check and I knew I passed. And so I took the test on Saturday, so I didn't get my actual certification from the ANCC till Monday. And so once I did that, I applied for my license with the Board of Texas on November 24th. And then, but Texas is known to be notoriously slow. They wrote back to me on December 31st, basically saying that since I have my RN license for Florida and it's compact, I need to either get a Texas license by endorsement, or I need to send a letter saying Florida's my declared home, whatever. So that's what I did on December 31st. So now let's see how long until they get back to me, because that's what's really holding me up, right? So while I was waiting on my Texas license, I was like trying to figure out what other license I can get to kind of start working sooner. So then that's when I'm like, hey, I'm from Florida, so let me try to get my Florida license. So I applied for my Florida license, literally got my Florida license in 48 hours. Like, it's crazy. So the thing is, like, every state is different. Like, every state has different requirements. So Texas, you pretty much just needed to, I had to send them my ANTC certification, I had to send them my transcript, and then they also had to get the verification of education from the school. Luckily, Walden actually sent the verification of education quickly, but Texas is still slow. So that was just waiting. And so for Florida, For Florida, I had to do fingerprints and a background check. So I went to UPS, had to do my fingerprints and the background check. It's like all bundled together. I paid like $75 for that. The Texas application was $125. And then you had to pay an additional for the prescriptive authority. I want to say like $40, $50, maybe $50. I don't know, something like this. And then the Florida license, I believe it was like $140. The prescriptive authority is already included. So, but for Florida, I had to send them the ANCC, or I had to request the ANCC to send them myself. So for Texas, you could just upload your certification, but Florida wanted to come directly from the ANCC, and so that took a few days, and that was $40. So the ANCC gives you one free certification thing to send to somebody. I sent it to myself, so I don't know if because I sent it to myself it was free, or if I would have sent it to Florida the first time it would have been free. I don't know, so you can figure that out. But yeah, so that was $40. Plus I had to pay for the Florida application, was like $140 or something like this. It was either $125 or $140, but I don't know. And then the background check was $75. So yeah, so that was all the stuff for Florida. But Florida, you get your license right away, right? But then there are also like things you have to do, some other forms you have to do. I'll probably do a more in-depth video with that, but that's basically the gist. There is a financial security thing that you have to do, basically saying I'm a new grad, I don't have a collaborating physician, I will get one, right? And so that's the whole thing with Florida. And then, so after I did that, I was like, okay, cool, now I can get my DEA license because I have a nursing license. Well, DEA registration, not a nursing not a license. So then when I tried to get my DEA for Florida, they're like, oh, you need a collaborating physician in order to get your DEA. Even though I'm not practicing, I still have to get a collaborating physician. So I spoke to two companies, Collaborate MD, Guardian MD. I forgot how much Guardian MD said, but it was a lot of money. Collaborating MD, it said it'll be like $600 for Florida, $780 for Texas, and then like 11 something to combine them both. So that's what I will be paying monthly to have a collaborating physician. So if you want to do like 1099 work, think of it like PRN travel, kind of work on your own, like as a contractor, you would need to have your own collaborating physician to work with the agency or a company. And so that's what I was trying to do, like just try to do a PRN thing like that. But then once I got hit with that collaborating physician fee, I was like, I'm not really feeling that. And so one of my friends, she's in Florida, but she was able to get past that because, so I wanted to do a 1099 job, so that would require me to get a collaborating physician on my own because I'm basically an independent contractor, right? Or if you get like a really like a staff job that comes with the collaborating physician, that would already be included. So like my friend, she had a Florida job. She has like a PRN Florida job where she's under a collaborating physician, so she was able to use that to get her DEA with Florida. So, but I don't have that. So I was just like, you know what, at this point, because I was just jumping through so many hoops, I was exhausted. I already paid for the DEA. Mind you, the DEA is $888, okay? So for me to get the one for Florida, I would pay $880 for that, plus a collaborating physician. I'm not even working yet. I don't even have a job, okay? And then I would have to pay $888 for Texas, all right? And you have to keep up with these things. And the $888 is for 3 years. Your DA is for 3 years, but I was like, yeah, I'm not doing all that. And you could transfer, like, so if I got the Florida one, then I decided I only want to work for Texas, not for Florida, you could transfer it, right? And so I just decided that I was just going to sit down. I already paid this $888, so now my money's tied up, right? So I'm just going to sit down and wait for Texas because it was just going to be too much. Because as far as I know, you don't need a collaborating physician to get your DA license, to get the DA registration. So my camera died. So as far as I'm concerned, you don't really need that to get your DA registration from Texas. So I'm just going to wait on Texas. So currently right now, I'm just waiting on Texas to speed it up with my license. Okay. So you need your DA registration. You need an NPI number. The NPI number is free. You also need a CAQH account. That is free as well. And that's basically just how insurers go through your, it's basically just like a profile. That's how insurers see who you're working for, what you're doing, all that good stuff. So those are just a few things that you need to have. So yeah, it's definitely a process. So right now I'm just basically waiting on Texas. I did say that if I did not hear from them by January, I was going to like probably pay for collaborating MD. is just really not ideal for me right now, because it's like, even if I like start something in Florida then switch to Texas, it's just going to be so much. So it's like my hands are just kind of tied. But since they did reach out to me on the 31st, I declared Florida as my residential home. I'm hoping that'll speed up this process, because I am definitely eager to start working. The other thing is too, is like, I know that it's like, it could be tough finding a job. I have friends who graduated a year ago who just start, oh, now it's a little confusing because now we're in 2026. Friends who graduated 2024 just started working like PRN shifts 2025. I'm not trying to be one of those people. I'm really trying to lock in and try to start working as soon as possible, because hello, who doesn't want to start working? I didn't go through all that school to not be working. Like, come on now, with my non-professional degree. But so yeah, that's just kind of where I'm at now. So I just kind of wanted to give you guys a quick rundown, let you guys know what's going on. But I am gonna go back and like make it a series and kind of give you guys more detailed stuff and let you know kind of what I went through and all this stuff, because there's just so much to learn and there's no handbook, like I said. And it's like, it's a frustrating process. Like, I literally feel like I try to take 2 steps forward and I end up taking 2 steps back. Like, it was just like really frustrating. So yes, and I do have some resources, some helpful resources that I wish I had when I was going through this process. So make sure you guys check them down below. If you guys have any questions, go ahead and leave a comment down below. I would love to answer them for you. Thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe. Thank you.